These are the trig examples from page 94. The first one on the left-hand side at the top of your page says sine x times by sec s times by cot x equals 1. Now, we know that when we do a trig proof, it's always sensible to start with the most difficult side first. So we're going to start with the left-hand side. So you write left-hand side. And that's equal to the sine of x. You should always write down what the problem is to start with. So always copy the problem into the part of your working. Now, we know that sine of x is sine of x, but we also know that the sec of x is 1 over the cosine of x. When you've got things like cot, sec, cosec, tangent, it's always good to change everything to sines and cosines. The cotangent, if you look on your back page of your formula sheet, it says it's equal to the cosine of x over the sine of x. When you look at this problem, you notice that you can cancel out some things. You know that that cancels out here, and you need to show that cancelling because this is a proof, and you need to show that that cancels with that one. This here is over 1, so it's on the top of the fraction, and it will cancel with the sine of x at the bottom at the other end. So if you cancel all of those out, that gives you equal to 1. And now what you need to do to finish off a proof is to say that it equals the right-hand side because it's a proof, and then you can say, hence, you have proven the trig identity. Starting with the second example, you look at the problem and you notice that the left-hand side is more complicated than the right. There's 2 things on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side there's only 1 thing, so hopefully we can make them look like the same. So I'm going to start with the left-hand side. So you write down left-hand side and then you copy the question. And I'm going to write it as a fraction. Okay, we know that the sec and the tan can be written in terms of sines and cosines. So we're going to write the sec as 1 over the cosine, and we're going to divide it, dividing by the tan, and the tan is sine of x over the cosine of x. And that's one of the trig identities you learnt the other day. When you have this, if you divide by a fraction, then you just use simple algebra rules and you times by the reciprocal. In this case, it's going to be cos of x over the sine of x. And here it should cancel. So this one here cancels with the cosine on the top. So that gives you 1 over the sine of x. Now, you've simplified it as far as you can, the left-hand side. And so now you've got to go back to what you need to try to make it equals. You do know that the cosec of x is 1 over the sine of x, and that's exactly the same as what's at the bottom. So you can say that this is equal to the cosec of x, which is the same as the right-hand side. And then you can say, hence, I have proven it. And then you have finished your proof.